This is Hello everyone. Welcome to Herd of the Line. This is the week 14. Yes, I said it. Week 14 review show. As you can tell, we're having a great time already on the pregame. We're having a better time than most of the teams did in most of these games this week. I am your humble host. I'm Chapman. Welcome. With me today is Tom. Hello, Tom.
Hello.
And producer Fletch. Hello, Fletch.
Hello.
Um, this is Ollie. Unfortunately, couldn't join us today. We hope he gets better soon, and he'll be back hopefully next week. Guys, week 14. I'm calling this week the calm before the storm. The storm that's coming, which is the final 4 weeks of our NFL season. Um, and this is when things are going to start tightening up. We had 6 teams on bye this week before we get into the games. Those were the Baltimore Ravens, the Denver Broncos, Houston Texans, the Indianapolis Colts, New England Patriots, and the Washington Commanders. Now, folks, back in my day, buys were finished before Thanksgiving. But in the new NFL with Christmas Day games and Black Friday games and games on Boxing Day, who knows? We've got to have these buys stretched out forever. But what's going on, guys? How was your weekend?
What's college football championship weekend? So most of it was spent on Saturday, just watching. Well, Friday, Saturday, just watching college football. Congratulations to your Georgia Bulldogs, by the way.
Thank you very
Um,
much.
and yeah, so overall, do you know what? Just on that alone, can't complain. Great weekend.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually watched the end of that game as well. It was very gutsy with the second QB coming in and playing pretty well for the circumstance that he was put in. So yeah, good
Well,
weekend.
in our Discord, I made a comment about the preview team last week spending an inordinate amount of time talking about a certain college team. Now, I'd just like to say I'm not saying anything about these college games, and that you two did. So there we go. Because the last thing I want to be called is a hypocrite. Anyway, yes, a lot of great college football this weekend. Not so great NFL football. Not that it wasn't great. It just felt like one of those weeks where, you know. That's what I'm saying. It's the calm before we have
Yeah,
a great end of the season. And I think this is like, as some of you guys know, I work in TV and film, and in TV, there's always that. I don't know, I forgot what we call it in the industry, but it's the episode that's like right before the end of the season. There's always a lot of times in these, like especially in these bingeable shows, you have the last 2 episodes are awesome, but then it's
mm.
like episode 8 that's like, yeah, it's just kind of burning time,
It's like a
getting us
filler
to
filler
getting us to the
episode or
end.
something.
What?
It's like a filler episode.
Exactly. Very good.
Yeah.
Tom knows the lingo.
Yeah, it's like in Breaking Bad where there's an episode called The Fly where they literally nothing else happens but them chasing a fly around the thing. That was the definition of a filler episode.
That's probably a bubble episode where they just didn't have a budget to do a real episode. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
anyway,
think you're
so
right. I think you're right.
anyway, enough of the industry analogies, guys. Do we have any news, any bits before we start getting into these games? Fletch, you're always good about this stuff.
That's actually a great question. I can confirm, by the way, we had a bit of news on Thursday for the preview show with regards to Bill Belichick
Mm.
apparently interviewing for the UNC job. He can confirm that he wasn't actually on the UNC campus looking for a new girlfriend. He was, in fact, interviewing for a new job. He will see how that goes, but other than that, with as far as news goes, I don't think there's been all too much this weekend. Just with, I mean, lots of players declaring for the draft. I think in college football, um,
There was a few injury ones, wasn't there? I know where Jonathan Brooks played for the Panthers. He tore his right ACL in the lead up to the draft, and then comes in and plays, and then tears his ACL again for the Panthers. So that was his same knee as well. So that's not a good thing. And then I think
Oh,
Derek
we did.
Carr
Yeah, Derek Carr
fractured
and
his
Aiden
hand as
O'Connell.
well
Yeah,
or something. So
yeah.
yeah, those were nasty ones. But
um,
Yeah.
also in some news, because like I say, with now it's time for players to start declaring for the draft and things like that. We also have now the 2025 IPP class. which includes Jordan Patea. Is it Patea? Tom, you're a rugby guy. More than I. Australian, apparently he's a really good young Australian rugby player,
Oh
up and
yeah.
coming. Um, there's only one here from the UK, and that's Mapolo Mwanza, who's from the UK. Well, two, sorry. He's from UK/Zambia, and Dante Barnett from the UK, both in the IPP class for this year.
Nice. Love to hear it.
Thank you for that international news. That's awesome. We will have to
You're
track
welcome.
that, and I'm sure we will over the spring and summer.
We shall.
All right, let's get into this calm before the storm. Um, we unanimously all said the best game was the game last night in the second half, or in the second set of games, which was the Los Angeles Rams defeating the number two seed AFC Buffalo Bills, 42 to 44. Tom, this is your game. Tell us about it.
Well, first of all, it's the highest scoring game in the NFL this year, so that kind of, sets the scene for it. It was just an absolute ball. I don't even know. It was just an absolute crazy game. Started out the Rams, been quite inconsistent this season with obviously the offensive line and everything, but it seems like they just put it all together in this game. Started off with a scoring drive with Kyron Williams. Then Josh Allen had an absolutely incredible game as well. I'll get onto that in just a second. But then he responds with a touchdown. Then there's a field goal for the Rams, and then a really big point in the game with the score of 10-7. The Rams block a Bills attempted punt with Hunter Long returning it for a 22-yard return touchdown. So that put them up by 10 points. But then from then on, it just went back and forth, back and forth. I mean, the Rams went out to a 31-17 lead at one point. But the Bills just kept fighting their way back. And for the Rams, I mean, the superstar in this game was Puka Nacua. He made some unbelievable catches. One of them on the sideline, which is, one of the best catches I've ever seen, to be honest. The body control he had to get in with that one.
That catch was sick. If you pause the podcast, Google that catch. It was awesome.
Exactly. It was insane. Kyron Williams was running really well on the ground. The Bills defense couldn't stop a cold, don't get me wrong, but neither could the Rams. So it was, I mean, Josh Allen, despite the loss, he had six total touchdowns. He threw three. He ran in. He had three rushing touchdowns as well. So he was absolutely lights out in this game. I think he's the only player to do that since 1954 in the NFL Championship for the Cleveland Browns. So, it was absolutely historical numbers. But the game came down to at the end, with 106 remaining, the Bills, I don't know why, but they decided to do a quarterback sneak, which meant that then they had to take a timeout, which meant they only had two timeouts left. And it meant that even if they scored a touchdown, they'd have to go for an onside kick, which is, the percentage of getting that is really low. So that was quite that decision was quite questionable in the sense that, they could have had, because it was first and goal as well, they could have thrown it and then, seen what happened, and what have you. But that kind of ended the game for them there. But an absolute just blockbuster game, especially just absolute fireworks really offensively from both teams. And despite, the loss for the Bills, yeah, Josh Allen, absolute unbelievable performance. So yeah, great game all around. For me, one of the games of the year. So yeah.
Wow. I see that Allen's also the first player in league history to have five career games in which he's passed for and rushed for multiple touchdowns,
Yeah.
which is interesting. Um, yeah, and this is actually also the first game the Bills have ever lost when scoring 42 points.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, this is good for your Chiefs, obviously, Tom, because
Yeah.
that gets you guys,
I was
well,
watching this with a keen eye to see if they could
yeah.
upset
Two
them.
game lead
So
at the top of the AFC now. Is that a 2 game lead
it's a
you've got
two
on them?
game lead. Yeah.
Yeah. Well. that makes things interesting. So as of now, the AFC, the road to the Super Bowl is going to go through Arrowhead once again. All
I
right.
gotta say on this game as well, Tom, it was actually 31-14
Oh, that's what I meant to
at
say.
one point. Well, yeah, I would say it don't make a lot of difference, but it was about just going through certain stats, right? It's like you can't get him overall closer game statistically than games like this. I mean, the yardage overall, um, Bills were had 445, Rams 457. On the ground, the Rams rushed for about 30 more yards. The Bills passed for about 10 more yards. The only difference realistically being was that the Rams had a lot more individual plays.
Mm,
Um, that was the only um so you can't get a much closer game. Granted, a lot of that came back from the fourth quarter from the Bills. And you really thought, I mean, I was sat in a Discord voice call with a couple of the people, and someone said, wouldn't it be really funny if the Bills came back now? And then 10 minutes we all went, well, this is funny, isn't it? The Bills are
yeah.
coming back now. Good. It's kind of a shame they couldn't finish it, I guess, but at the same
Yeah, but what
time,
was great also about it, Fletch, as well, was that there was no sacks, there was no turnovers, it was just clean football. It was just,
yeah.
offensive clinic from both teams, and that's kind of what you love to see, really.
I mean, every year you look for a game that where it's a bit like, I guess, if you were to, if a friend of you was to come up and say, "Right, give me a game to watch this year." If they're brand new getting into the NFL, this is one of the one, if not the one, you would probably put in front of them and just say, just watch it because it, like I say, offensive masterclass, big plays, clutch plays, great catches, great run. It was just a great game overall on both sides of the ball, from both teams. Um,
Yeah.
and with that, by the way, the biggest piece, the one we've all been waiting for, and I let everybody down a couple of weeks ago, the NFL MacGuffin has changed hands. Once
Ooh.
again, I remind you all on time, the Bills held it, now the Rams have it. So we will see what happens for the rest of the season, but the Rams now hold the NFL MacGuffin, which is what everyone tunes in to wait for anyway. Um, But did you guys? I've got to ask a question. Did you guys have fun? Like, how have you guys gotten on fantasy football this weekend?
I am in a place to, so I have two leagues. I've mentioned this big money league, and the big money league is not a playoff league. It is a record only league. You can win you can finish first, second, or third, and then you can also win a division. So you can like, it's big money. That's why it's the big money league. I am in potential to, I'm in third place now with a shotting distance of getting second and also winning my division. And then on my other league with my UK friends here, I am on the playoff bubble. We'll see. How about you, Tom?
Yeah, I'm in one league. Well, I'm probably going to lose to Fletch, to be fair. So, unless have some sort of miracle performance from T Higgins and Jamar Chase does absolutely nothing. And then in the other league, I'm slated to win. I think I'm up by like 40, and they've only got one player left to play. But that's very much thanks to John
I mean,
Allison. So,
we spoke about this off air. Tom really wants T Higgins to have a great game, but also remembers also I have Joe Burrow as my QB. So for as long as T Higgins has a great game, so do I.
yeah, I know.
Uh,
I forgot to mention that in our hurdle the line league. Oh, I'm 9-4, sitting atop the table. Oh, look at
I
that.
I believe that every time I go on a good run, Chapman beats me, and then I lose the game after. Chapman is the one is the Honolulu Blue Flu I was talking about ages ago on the. He's my Honolulu Flu, but I don't know about you guys, but as much as I've loved general fantasy football this year, one thing I have loved is daily fantasy football. And if you at home also like daily fantasy football, then let me introduce you. Okay. Let me introduce you to the Hurdle the Line sponsor, Fantasy Game Day, the first and only NFL daily fantasy app made by UK fans for UK fans. You can create your lineup, manage your budget, compete against other UK fans and some of us. I don't know. Have you guys had a go of it yet? Properly. So have you managed to win yet?
Haven't managed to win.
No.
No. So so it I haven't won yet either. So if you want to compete against us as well, you clearly have a good chance of winning because we're not very good. Um, and you can even win a little bit of money in the process. Just head to fantasygameday.app if you are on YouTube. The links are right there, right down there. If you are on audio only, so Spotify, Apple, whatnot, head to the description of the episode, click the links in there. What's up? Nope. Uh, Download the app, sign up for the account. Use at the bottom of your sign up, you will see an option for a promo code. Use code HRDLE. That is hurdle without you, although there is no hurdle the line without you. When you play for the first time, you will receive a free play worth £7.50. All because we sent you. All because we said go over. And that's how nice the guys at Fantasy Game Day are. Because we sent you, they'll give you a free play once you play. You must be over the age of 18. And please, please gamble responsibly.
I just got to say before we get back to the games that I'm in the JTTC league, you know. I've
Yeah.
been like second or third in my division the whole year, and I missed the playoffs for the whole thing by like point 0.4 points or something like that. And they did an email, or they did a tweet that was basically like, imagine being Chapman Maddox where you missed the playoffs all because one player didn't even make a catch or one by like, a running back doing one thing, I would have been in the playoffs. Oh, tragic, tragic, tragic.
Oh man.
I do apologize, by the way, if you have enough scrubs. My little Turk fell over on my
Oh
desk, and then it
yes.
knocked my camera and everything like that. So I just had a moment of chaos at the wrong moment there.
All good. Speaking of moments of chaos, well, it wasn't chaos when it comes to calling fourth down plays because Dan Campbell is is just he's not intimidated, he's not scared, and he's the gutsiest coach in the NFL, which you could not say about the Atlanta Falcons. That's for sure. Anywho, the next game we're going to talk about is the Thursday night game, and it was the second best game of the week, I think. And that's where Detroit Lions beat the rivals Green Bay Packers 34-31 in a nail biter at the end, where Dan Campbell goes for the win on fourth down. How long was that field goal?
Great question. It was a pretty much chip shot though, wasn't it?
It was
As
a
good as a chip
35.
shot.
Yes, but
35.
uh
It's Jake
yeah, but he
Bates.
had
That's a
he had
chip
to
shot.
get him in there, right? That was the whole situation, right? Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, man.
yeah, yeah.
Um, this was a really back and forth game. Of course, as soon as I start talking about it, all my notes start going crazy. So um, it was it was a really good game, but ultimately the Lions come out on top. They now sit at 12-1, atop of the NFC, and right now the NFC everything runs through Detroit. This is a great game against one of your division rivals. Obviously, there's one other division rival who's also is hot right now.
Yeah,
But it doesn't look like Green Bay is going to be threatening you guys, and I would imagine they're still going to be on the outside of the playoffs looking in, but there might be a good chance there's three NFC North teams in the playoffs come the
yeah.
end of the next 4 months. Um, any takeaways from this game, guys? It was just a really great game because there was a lot of scoring back and forth, but ultimately the Lions doing Lions things, they come out on top on this one.
Yeah, just from my perspective, I think I said on Thursday, I was worried about this game. Something didn't feel divisional games never sit right with me anyway, but we have 13 defensive players on IR at the moment. Mostly a good chunk of them are starters. So I think for me it was a massive case of like, well, last time we played the Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love was on one leg and it was a very close game.
Yeah.
Can we with that amount of talent on IR keep up with them? And I was kind of hoping we would win, but I was prepared for us to potentially losing this game. And it all came down to, like you said, came down to fourth downs. It came down to gutsy calls. It came down to, I guess, executing when it mattered. I think to use, I think, yeah, to try and use good terminology there. Executing when it mattered, really.
Right. I mean, leading in the fourth quarter, it's a 21-24 game, Detroit. And the Green Bay Packers come down the field. They score on a Jacobs run, sorry. And to make it 28-24. Detroit comes back. They score a touchdown from was it Patrick's from a pass by Goff,
Yeah,
making it 31-28. Green Bay comes back, takes about 5 minutes off the clock, tying the game 31-31. And then the rest is history, where Detroit goes down the field and kicks a field goal with 0 seconds left to go to make it a 34-31 final.
yeah.
That was an exciting fourth quarter. I woke up on Friday morning and watched it and
Yeah, me too.
enjoyed it.
I mean, you should have heard the disrespect by everybody else that wasn't called me towards Josh Jacobs before. I mean, I wanted to just talk about how great he was, but no, Josh Jacobs was brilliant as well in the game. He really was, and absolute credit to the Packers because at the end of the day, games like that, if they hang in certain balances, if you find that once you convert a couple of fourth downs, because Dan Campbell, I think we went 4 or 5 on fourth downs throughout the whole game, including one on our own 34. Just those momentum shifts can hit a team hard. Even the little things can just start to derail, and you just kind of, I don't know, you come on, your offense comes on and just goes, well, they're just getting everything's going their way at the moment. These things credit to Green Bay, credit to them. They came with a very good game plan, gave us a really tough game, and did not go away all game, even when it felt like we were getting momentum. They took it right back off us. So, and I know all jokes aside, Tom was saying before just how good, Josh Jacobs was brilliant as well. Best player of the game for me.
Tom, you got anything on this one?
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with Fletch. I mean, Josh Jacobs ran really well in this game. I think Christian Watson had a decent game as well. Unfortunately, I was hoping that Jaden Reed would have a good game, but he put up a zero burger on the fantasy landscape. But yeah, just a back and forth game, really. I thought that when the Packers went up 28-24, that they would go on and win the game. But all credit to the Lions for coming back, and you know what Dan Campbell's going to do when it's 4th and inches and what no, he's not going to do anything else, is he? I mean, the one thing I would say is that his aggressiveness, although obviously it worked out this time, that if it comes down to a playoff game and he's doing that, like I would I wouldn't question it, but at the same, it has to work out. So, I feel like his aggressiveness at some point may come back to bite him, but it's working at the moment. It's working absolute wonders. Like as Fletch saw in the
Yeah.
in the NFC Championship last year, the aggressiveness came back and bit them there. So
Well,
hopefully he's, a bit more balanced maybe when it comes to playoffs. But
just
yeah, overall a really good game anyway.
just on my perspective on that one, because I know you mentioned it to me this weekend, and the last thing I don't know if it was just what was going on. I just thought I want to calculate my response to it to actually come across smart rather than an ass. I
Hmm.
don't know why break a habit of a lifetime, to be fair, but at the same time, like I get where you're coming from with the NFC Championship game, and one of the things I wanted to say was like, well, in that game, if Josh Jacobs just keeps the ball in his bloody hands, right? He had it in two hands. Two. Right? No, I'm not. No, it's not about Josh Reynolds at the moment, but just a couple of those opportunities where a ball bounced off Vildar's helmet. It was in two hands, and then it was out. Um, I think what we've got this year in comparison to the last couple of years is an actual kicker who can make field. While everyone else seems to be missing them, Jake Bates seems to be absolute money from just about everywhere. There is a much more calculated risk to be taken, and with a gas defense with 13 players on IR, I kind of get the decision to maybe not put the ball game in their hands when Green Bay were doing so well on offense. Um, but I think you're absolutely. It can cost you, but we can be afford to be a bit more calculated with those risks now in comparison to other times. I'd just
I think that's right. I was one who was critical of Dan Quinn or Dan Quinn, sorry, Dan Campbell last year, but it's also because it's being aggressive at the right times. I think it always pays now in the modern NFL to be aggressive, but it's being aggressive at the right times. And you got to know when to push the gas and when not to, because there's absolutely situations where it does not make sense to do these things, and then at certain points there is. And it's all situational. And I think really good head coaches, which is what's been great watching Dan Campbell over he's not just he is a motivator. He gets the best out of his players, but he's really compared to even 3 years ago, he's grown as a head coach during games, and you can see it, and I think that's awesome, Fletch. Um, and I think it is easy to point, but guess what? It paid off. He knows his team, and it paid off. And again, that's the other thing. I think Dan Campbell is going to just like in Andy Reid and earlier. I mean, I watched those Phillies days. He would also do a lot of head scratching game management things that he grew. I think he's grown out of as a Chiefs coach now, but um, it's situational football, and I'm now belaboring my point. Sorry, but I just was going to say I trust Dan Campbell's decision making at this point now, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
I got a lot of good things to say about Dan Campbell. So that's just,
me too.
and you know what? He should if he should win the Super Bowl with Detroit, maybe not, this year, soon, retire and then become, run for office because I think he can run as an independent. He'd be great.
Oh
All right.
wow, yeah, that
Anyway,
would be good.
the next game of the week, I don't know if we can classify it as a game of the week, but the next game that we're going to highlight should not be downplaying our own show. Keep listening, guys. We're funny. We're great. We're gonna entertain you. Um, this was picked by Fletch, and it's the Jets who were defeated by
Mhm.
the Miami Dolphins, 32-26, thus eliminating the Jets from playoff contention. Tell us about this one, Fletch.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So this one, I thought, right, bear in mind, I watched a lot of these games on Red Zone because I decided to watch someone's team not help my team out this week instead. So this one was coming through on Red Zone a lot. And from what I was aware, there was a chaotic ending to the game, and I thought we need to talk about it. There's a chaotic ending. It wasn't that chaotic in when I actually watched it back and realized what went down. It wasn't that chaotic. I feel really bad for bringing this one forward. However, I did sit there through 15 minutes of highlights of this one, so I'm not going to waste it. Both teams for me, it came down. It that game came down to O lines. I think it was so funny watching a 40-year-old man who just tore his Achilles have to run around to save his life, but then just find Devontae Adams or whoever in 20 yards of open space. It was such a weird game, but spoke to everything you kind of wanted the Jets to be on offense would happen, and then everything that the Jets have been on offense for 2 years happened. And then the Dolphins were just the Dolphins. They just kind of they turned up somewhat and kind of scrambled the way through the game as they can tend to do at the moment. It was a bit of an odd one. It was nowhere near as exciting for being as highlighted as it was. I am very sorry for that.
Well, there you go.
Although, like I say, it was funny to watch a 40-year-old man run to save his life. Like, that's always funny.
At
And
least there was a game-winning touchdown in overtime, right?
true, true. There was that.
Uh,
There was definitely that.
Tyreek had 115
Yeah,
yards and another touchdown, celebrating, I believe, his fifth child that has been born this year. So there you
Yep.
go.
I think he's got
Uh,
more children this year than he does touchdowns, maybe. So
ooh. Uh,
I saw that before. And the best comment underneath it when I don't think that man can pull out of his own driveway, and I cried for 5 minutes. I'm not gonna lie.
when we're off air, remind me to tell you one of the funniest jokes from a movie that I love. I am not going to say it on this air.
okay.
Anyway, not a ton to say more about this. The Jet season's done. They have a lot of big questions. If the Jets weren't the Jets, I feel like the Falcons would be getting more. But luckily, the Jets exist. All right. Boom, boom, boom. I'm gonna throw one to our shadow host, who's always lurking. She's always there. We never know when she's gonna come in and out, but her presence is felt. This one's for Mrs. Fletch. New Orleans Saints defeat the lowly New York Giants 14 to 11. Uh, Unfortunately, I just saw Derek Carr does get hurt and will be missing the remainder of the season. But that might make it easier for the Saints to end the Derek Carr era after this season. Um, the only reason we're talking about this game is because all the other games were, except for the Jags Titans games, were daggum double-digit blowouts. This one was close. So the Giants. Funny enough, I have some Giants fans in my life, and they are all dreading winning another game, which would knock them out of the contention for at least trying to get one of these two quarterbacks coming out of the draft. And they're like, we're going to win some dumb game that we don't deserve to win. And they almost tied this game at the end, except for they missed I think it was like a 30-yard field goal there at the end. Can't
Yeah, I
quite.
mean, I think it's like tell me you're tanking without telling me you're tanking with some of the plays at the end of this game. Like there was one where like Drew Lock had like wide open space to run for a first down, but then runs to the side and then gets tackled and it's fourth down. It
Sorry.
just it didn't make any sense.
It was a 35-yard field goal that
Yeah,
got
blocked.
blocked. Yeah. So this puts the Saints at 5-8. I don't think they can. I mean, they still win four games. Tampa Bay drops one. Falcons certainly aren't going to win it. So you know, still alive technically.
Somehow still alive.
It
Somehow still alive.
Darren
it's
Rizzi.
it's one of those games, and I think this and the Titans Jags game, which I'm sure was so enthralling, we'll definitely talk about it at some point.
We're
But
actually doing a sub pod show after this just to talk about that game.
do you know, I'm so glad you are because there's not enough time to cover that one on in this. But it's one of those this was one of those games alongside that one where it comes up on Red Zone at one point and you go, "Oh yeah, that game's on as
That
well."
game's on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know when
Uh,
it came on, when it was 11 to 14 and the New York Giants were driving down and then they got a field goal block at the end of the game. That's all I saw.
yeah,
And I
Yeah.
was like,
I
oh,
agree.
oh, yeah. Because obviously, like the only thing that could have made the day worse yesterday was the Saints winning, which they did, of course. So,
Yeah.
um, uh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, sorry, I wasn't going to say anything.
You're just in the middle of sneezing in our show. Come on.
Yeah, kind of.
Um, Anybody want to throw a next game out? I've got one picked out, but do you want to? Anybody? Is there a game? Do we want to talk Jags Titans? Not
I
really.
mean, there's not really much to say about that one,
I mean,
really.
Um,
can I just say that that game being so bad? I will say this on the Jag Titans because again, Red Zone. That game being so bad gave them 5 minutes of sole airtime on Red Zone because
True.
every game was in half time and
Mm.
that the third quarter had started already in the Jag because that game was just going so quick because no one was doing anything. But they, like I said, they got about 3 minutes of sole airtime on Red Zone because it was the only game on at the time.
I was going to
yeah,
say the one that was actually a decent game, the last one I would say probably of this weekend, that was a decent game, was the Eagles Panthers
that's
in
right.
Yes.
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Um, it was a game where the Panthers were actually up at one point in this game going into the fourth quarter, I believe. But the Eagles drove down, took a double digit, I think it was an 8 point lead. But then the Panthers were driving down the field, including just some great play from Bryce Young, more or less in the end zone. Throws a beautiful pass down the sideline, converts a fourth down. And then he throws another beautiful pass, which, looks like Xavier Legette catches it at the 1 yard line. But it's actually an incomplete pass because, he used the ground to help him catch the ball. And then, Philly escaped escape with the win, really. So they've been playing so well recently, the Panthers, and
Yeah.
Bryce Young continued to play really well. Saquon Barkley had another 100-yard odd game. But yeah, they really are showing signs. Bryce Young's definitely showing signs that he can be, the QB of the future for the Panthers, which is good to see. So if anything, I was more impressed with the Panthers than I was with the Eagles in the game, even though they lost.
No, absolutely. And it's scary not well, it's scary for me as a Falcons fan, but it's interesting to see the Panthers. They're not a good team. They can't, it's really, but they're playing hard, they're being competitive. I can't say I've watched this with a super close eye, but I'm assuming that they're playing sound football and they're not making dumb mistakes anymore. And they're not the laughing stock. They're not, again, they're very limited because of their roster, but it looks like Bryce has turned a corner, and then he could potentially be someone you can build around, and it's not such a dreadful trade that they made now, which is
Yeah.
great. I mean, we want good football here, even if they're in the division. So,
Exactly. I mean,
but
I
Oh
saw
no,
a
yeah.
stat like even after, I think it was either before I think it was before this game, where like in the last 6 games, if you compare the statistics of Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, they're more or less identical. Which
yeah.
proves how much the Bryce Young has improved. And I'm not saying that CJ Stroud is, I mean, he's having a slump, obviously sophomore slump, but it just proves that Bryce Young is, playing a lot better than he was when he was getting benched, and yeah, all power to him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you would have asked 6 weeks ago, Bryce Young's career was over.
Mm.
Any
Mm.
trade where someone may potentially want a QB as a backup, Bryce Young's name was being thrown about, and now you're talking about him as if he's had almost a career resurrection. No, his career hasn't truly gone off yet in the NFL. And it's really nice to see that the relationship he's got with Dave Canales is clearly quite good. And yeah, I watched a good chunk of this, and I was heartbroken for them. Couple of drops here and there, and maybe we're talking about a completely different game with a completely different result. So no, absolutely, big up to Carolina. And I would say on what you said before, Chapman, if you go be a homer now, don't. But a couple of years ago, when the Lions went through 13-1, but they kind of pulled it back at the end of the season and really showed everyone like, no, we can compete in a game, but we're just kind of getting stuff together. And everyone kind of looked at the Lions and went, well, look, you keep piecing that together, and you never know what could happen. And it kind of feels like the Panthers are about round about that place where it's you're starting to piece it together. It's just right now. Let's see that translate into you're playing some good football. You're getting there and thereabouts in games. Can we just see this translate to more wins? And unfortunately for them, they were just playing a very, very good Eagles side. Any other team, I think they win that game.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. And we mentioned Jonathan Brooks tearing his ACL again, three
Yeah,
games
on the
back, and
non-contact injury as well. It wasn't even like he hit anyone. So yeah, it's
yeah,
never nice to see those sort of
that's a bummer.
injuries.
Yeah. There is another interesting game that I forgot to mention that we should transition to, which does have playoff implications. And it was a game in the second games yesterday. What are we calling those? Afternoon games, but the evening games here, whatever.
After an evening,
Well, I always call them the
we
second. We call them the afternoon games in America, but what do I call them? The
The
late
late
games, the late
slate or
games.
something?
No,
Yeah,
it's the late games.
late
First
late
game.
get start
games.
get yeah, the late games. So anyway, and it's the Seattle Seahawks defeating the Arizona Cardinals 30-18. I think the Seahawks now are leading in the division, if I'm not
Yeah, yeah,
mistaken.
eight and
And
five.
this and only what it felt like 3 weeks ago, we were just talking about Kyler Murray and these Cardinals being at the top of this division. And now, and then, 4 weeks ago, I guess we should say, and Seattle was like looking pretty, well, they can win. And now, I mean, this Seattle team is putting it together. They're 8-5, and they're a playoff team right now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, their defense has really turned it around the second half of the season. It seems like to start the season they were giving up loads of points and yards and what have you, but they've really kind of meshed together. Devon Witherspoon, Leonard Williams is playing at an all-pro level. Even the last 4 games. There's the analysts and stuff been saying that he's, having a defensive player of the year type like season really. So yeah, all credit to the Seahawks as well, especially without, Kenneth Walker. He wasn't out there, but Zach Charbonnet had a bunch of carries, had over 130 yards, two touchdowns. And for the second time in 3 weeks, the Seahawks beat the Cardinals. They beat them a bit more convincingly this time than the last game. And then also in this one, Geno Smith, the second game in a row where he hasn't had a turnover as well. So yeah, a good game for the Seahawks, and the Cardinals just going in the wrong direction. I think they've lost three in a
Yeah.
row now. What kind of summed it up was the fact that they didn't even get, Trey McBride, their biggest weapon, the ball until midway through the third quarter, was kind of crazy. When he's one of the best tight ends in the league, and you want to feed him with targets. And Marvin Harrison had a quiet game as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, saying on that as well, what's been quite funny is what's really saved the Seattle Seahawks season is the AFC. The record, they're something like 4-4 in against the NFC, but they're 4-1 against the AFC, which
Hmm.
has been really, I think, one of the funniest stats of the year, I think. Um, and that resilient defense of theirs, headed by Aiden Durde. Now they've got three out of the four NFC North opponents out of the next four games. The Vikings at home, then on the road to the Bear. No, sorry, the Packers and Vikings at home, road to the Bears, and then uh, on the road to the Rams. So it'd be interesting to see. I guess that's two really tough games back to back now for them, even if they are at home.
And that
Yeah.
and that Rams game as well is going to be massive because they lost the earlier game in the season as well. So if the all the Rams have to do is to have the same record as the Seahawks and to win uh to win
Win
that
that,
game, and
win
then
that
they
game.
would.
You got the tiebreaker. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Um,
mean, Sam must be ecstatic after last night, but he didn't. He wasn't texting on the Discord on the end of Saturday, which was interesting.
No,
But
no. Was
but
he
I mean,
getting?
I know last night. I'm sure he was very excited about that win. And look, everybody knows I love Sean McVay, and if you don't, well, welcome, listener, and we're glad you're listening. Um, this is going to be a great battle, man. I'm excited. I'm excited that they did backload some of these better divisions.
Mm,
We just didn't know that it was going to be Seattle, Los Angeles. We were going to be excited about,
yeah.
versus like a San Francisco, who knows what, right? So,
Yeah, exactly. And even with the 49ers as well, I mean, they bludgeoned the Bears, didn't they? So they're only one game back or something, despite having you know, really
yeah,
poor season by their standards. So yeah, it's a
yeah.
really, really weird division. Like a few weeks ago, you had the Cardinals. You thought they were going to go and win a division, and now it's a three-horse race. So it's crazy.
yeah.
Absolutely wild.
We, if you would have asked us at the start of the year, maybe there'd be a couple of teams running for a couple of the divisions. But if you'd have said the NFC South would be this close with only a couple of games, with all four teams, well, with two
Oh,
games
come
between
on. You knew
them.
that.
No, but I would never have thought it. We all thought that the Panthers would be really bad,
Yeah.
really, and we all thought the Saints would be really, really bad. And to be fair, for the most part, they have been 3-2-1. Um, absolutely temperature. The but there were two games separating first and third.
Mm,
And no, I don't think anyone thought it'd be that close. Maybe the Bucks and the Falcons running away with a slightly better record each.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think anyone thought there'd be three teams. And the same with the NFC West. I don't think anyone thought first and fourth would be separated by three games and all resting on tiebreakers for who
yeah.
might take the division.
Okay. Fletch, can we play a little game really quick before we get the rest of these games?
I like a game, yeah. Let's
Potentially,
go.
Lions could see. I don't know if this is right. And I know Tom's like, gonna be like, that's not how it works. But all right. Potentially, you could see, let's say the second place NFC West team, let's say it's the Rams right now,
Yeah.
or the Buccaneers, or probably the Buccaneers, maybe. Which of those two teams are you more afraid of right now?
That is a
And and remind you that the Bucks beat you week
no, no, no.
two.
I would say it's a very, very good question because every game we play against the Rams is ridiculously and horrendously close, and Sean McVay knows how to win. But also the Bucks on more than one occasion have run a close game, and they're the only ones who've had us this season. It's coin toss between them both. I would not like to or enjoy facing either of them. It's a coin toss between them both.
That's the least Homer thing I've heard you say. I love you. Thank you. That's honestly, I just made that question up and then I realized I picked the two best teams I could pick to ask you that question. Yeah. Host Chapman. There we go. All right, let's get through some of these games. And if
I was
you're
going to say,
listening,
you still haven't got to your game yet, Chapman.
I mean, we can. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to listen to me talk about that, but we can. Let's save it for just another minute. We'll get to it. I think there was a slightly more important game, which was unfortunately Ollie's Browns lose to their division rivals, the hated Steelers, 27-14. This was the Jameis Winston implosion game. Throws two picks along with two touchdowns. Russell Wilson has a game, but did he get hurt in this game, or did I make that
I don't
up?
know because I saw his yardage and I was like, surely did he ended with 156 yards?
Yeah, he ended the game because there's no other passing stats on here. Uh, yeah, it wasn't.
Crazy
Again,
game.
this was one of those that because of the time it was on, I was sort of
Mm.
keeping a weird eye on it. I did see a really great touchdown by Jerry Jeudy at the beginning of the game, which was like I think the first score of the game, and then
Yeah, that's when the
no,
Browns went up 7-3, and
yeah,
then
first touchdown of the game, yeah, to go
yeah,
up
yeah,
7-3, and then it was just all Pittsburgh.
all
Uh,
Steelers. Yeah,
yeah, so
I
um,
think he got injured. No, he was playing
no,
in
he
the
didn't get
third
injured.
quarter.
Sorry, I made
Nope.
that up, folks. I should not say that without knowing. Go ahead. Oh, I was just saying the Pittsburgh Steelers are now a very, very, very strong 10-3 in the AFC, looking like they could still even possibly eke out that second seed. I was listening to my much beloved Bill Simmons say that he thinks that they're the best team in the AFC, and he would be scared to play them just because they're so sound at everything they do. They have a great coach. They have a great special teams. They can win in a bunch of different ways, and they're just only going to get hurt. Like they are a team built for cold playoff games. So, yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. Do you guys have any feelings on this Pittsburgh team?
Not really.
I I said in during their bye week and I think it was when we were doing the power rankings on this podcast on this episode that I said I'd like to see they had the Commanders at the weekend. I want to see him play what I felt was a real team first. They went and beat the Commanders, then they went and beat the Ravens, lost to the Browns, beat the Bengals, beat the Browns. They've added some. We look at it in almost college football ranking terms. They've added some good wins on their resume, right? They've added a couple of good wins, and they've got different. Like I say, they've got different kinds of wins. I don't see them. I still don't rate that offense highly enough. I just not to go toe to toe with a truly dynamic offense, whether it be the Bills or. And I think again, when it comes down to coaching, you get into a slugfest with the Chiefs in the playoffs. Good luck
Yeah,
to
but the Chiefs
anyone
can't
trying to do
score.
that.
No offense, Tom, but like the Chiefs aren't putting up 30. The Chiefs are winning by, almost the exact same way that right now that the Steelers are. I, I can see them absolutely going to Arrowhead, and I mean, this is not to take anything away from the Chiefs. My money would be on the Chiefs, but there is a scenario where this team can go in and play a really smart game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the only thing that scares you about the Chiefs right now is the fact that they are the two-time Super Bowl winner. They had Patrick Mahomes, and they always win games like this. That's it. It's the
I,
mystique of that. No, and I'm being honest. Like that, it's not a slight, but like if you look at it on paper, it's like, but if you watch it, you're like, oh, it's the mystique. You know what I'm saying, Tom?
I
Like,
mean,
it's trying
Yeah.
not to be disrespectful,
No, I
but
agree. I agree.
it's
I
not
mean,
like the MVP season a few years ago,
No,
right?
no,
Where
it's
it's not
not.
the same.
It's
It's
not.
not the same team.
it feels different. The way the Chiefs have been this season just feels a bit different compared to others. But there's always that thing. I think, and it's the whole thing of kind of it's the Chiefs until it's not, and always the Chiefs have got this in the bag until they haven't. It feels like at any given moment, at some point, as we're about to hit the playoffs, the Chiefs are going to go into the locker room, hit a magic switch, and then it's going to be boom. It just happens. And the Chiefs go, right, we're here now, let's play. And it always just feels like the Chiefs have got that in the locker, got that in the bag, just ready to pull it out. And that's why, because we know Mahomes can do it, we know Kelsey can do it, and they've got, well, they've not got worse pieces than what they've had in the past couple of years necessarily.
Yes, they are. Yes, they do. I think they absolutely. This is the worst offensive team they've had in their entire
I
run. In my
disagree. I think last year's offense was worse, but I think that yeah, I think last year's offense was worse. I think the injuries to the offense have been, pretty bad. Obviously, you're having
But you have to take that into account.
yeah, I mean you do. You obviously do. Whereas,
What
last
my,
year was
my point is, I don't think it's. I think the Chiefs play incredibly smart football. Like,
mm.
and
They don't beat
That's what
themselves.
to me.
That's why
What's
they
now
win these
is
games. That's exactly
that's
why they
what's
win these games.
yeah. This is my point.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes maybe is because of the talent around him isn't making the same kinds of plays we saw him, and I think they will
Mm.
rebuild around him obviously in the future. And every but what I think he does is he's so naturally smart, and his coach is so naturally smart too, and they have this mind meld that they make these little decisions that make the difference in the games. But what I think is, while Russell Wilson definitely is not Patrick Mahomes at this point, but he's a smart football player, and I think Tomlin is as good as any coach in the league. I'm just saying that the Steelers could go into Arrowhead and they're not going to be intimidated. They're not going
We'll
to be.
find out
It's
on
not.
Christmas.
Yeah, we're going to find out on Christmas. It's going to be
Yeah,
a great
we'll
game.
find out on
But
Christmas.
I
Yeah.
guess in the playoffs, and I don't think they're going to. I think you could have a great boxing match. That's my whole
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then they match up uniquely well, I think is what I think. Whereas
Mm.
the Bills have all this baggage and it's always a thing. It's all, you know what I mean? And they have to wrestle with that.
Yeah.
Steelers don't have that coming in. They
Mm.
don't.
Well,
They're just going to come in and play the game.
Tom, let
Yeah.
me, again, these guys run out. I can't tell you because obviously I don't keep that on top of the Chiefs IR for long enough to know exactly when they've got. Do you know
Yeah.
when Mecole Hardman, Hollywood Brown, and Rasheed Rice and Sky Moore are coming back off IR? I'm pretty sure one of them's
So
completely out for the
yeah,
season
so
and done now,
Rasheed
aren't
Rice is out for the season. Sky
they? Yeah.
Moore just don't get him back off eye, doesn't do anything anyway. McCole Hardman is out for the next 4 games or 3 games now after last night. And then what do you call him? Hollywood Brown is slated to come back at Christmas, if not week 17. So, but yeah, he is going to make a comeback in the regular season before going into the playoffs. So that's going to be a big piece to come back.
Because I'd like to see that with the whole. Well, you've got D Hop, Xavier Worthy, Smith Schuster, Justin Watson, Nico Remigio, and then add McCall Hardman and Hollywood Brown in there, and they obviously bump a couple of those down in the depth chart. But that
Yeah, yeah.
the offense, I get it has the capability to be very fun to watch, and it, like I say, for me, Chapman, it's always just going to be until they don't have it, and they don't pull it out. They've got it there, ready to go, just ready to press. That boy's just ready to press until they can't press it, and it's clearly not there.
Speaking of which, maybe we should chat quickly about your game, Tom. The
Yeah,
Chiefs
sure.
last night on the Sunday Night Football defeat
Yeah,
the surging Chargers, 19-17. I know this was another game that came down to the very last play.
it was.
You want to give us your quick recap? I know you stayed up and watched the game in real
I
time.
did. I did. I mean, it was one of those, those divisional slugfest sort of games. It felt like an AFC North game, like to be honest with you, like a game between the Browns and the Ravens or something that ends 10-9 or whatever. But yeah, it was a bit of a slugfest. Obviously, the Chiefs played well in the first half, they nullified the Chargers. Justin Herbert couldn't, his receivers really couldn't catch him. He was he was being hounded in the pocket. We had 2 sacks on him. We led 13-0 at halftime. But then everything that the Chargers didn't do in the first half, they did to start the second half. They dominated the third quarter with 2 touchdown drives. They pounded the rock. Gus Edwards and what is his name? Vildor or something. I can't remember his name. I'm not gonna lie. But it's the other running back for the Chargers. Both of them just pounded the rock for the Chargers.
Vital.
Vidal, that's it.
Sorry.
Vidal, or what?
I was
Yeah,
on
exactly.
You would
Vidal.
think you
That's
would think
it.
you were thinking of Mr.
I was
Vildar
getting to
himself.
Kendall Vildor, even though
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not honestly who it was. But yeah, they dominated the third quarter. They went up 16, not 16. They went up 14 to 13. But then, the Chiefs just do what they do in the fourth quarter. There's no other team in the NFL that I trust more when there's a one possession game. You got to go down the field and win the game with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. There's no other team that I trust more to do that, and that's exactly what they did. Obviously, the Chargers had a bit of a muff with the kick; it didn't go in the kick zone. So the Chiefs get it at the 40-yard line. They drive down the field, and then crucially on what was it? It was I think it was third down. Mahomes escapes the pocket because the line play again was not good in this game. He was harassed. They had 3 sacks of him. They kept hitting him. But the Chargers have a very good front. They got 4 really good rushers. So that's not surprising. But then he completes a pass to Travis Kelce, basically ices the game. We think it's going to be a regulation kick, and then just to keep the heart palpitations going, Matthew Wright hits a 31-yard field goal that bounces off the upright and through to win the division. You couldn't really make it up. So yeah. I mean, what Chapman was saying before, I don't disagree with. The Chiefs' offense isn't one that scares you, but they've been in so many of these one-score games. They know exactly how to handle the pressure. They know the situational awareness and situational football is at such a high level that when it comes down to those last 2 minutes, those final drives, I know that they're just going to figure it out because it's what they do. It's just in their DNA to do it. So until a team goes and does that and beats them like that in the playoffs, then yeah, that's just what they're going to continue to do. They're 12-1 and they got 2-game lead in the FC. So
When
Yep.
when you talk about things like that, it's not just there's all those things, but it's also just the discipline. Andy Reid has you were
mm,
disciplined in those moments. You're not giving away.
yeah,
And I'm not playing this game with anybody. I'm not playing this game with other people who are listening. The officials game, the Chiefs are disciplined. You're not giving away silly false starts. You're not giving away silly
Mm.
completely. You're not giving away the egregious daft penalties that ruin and stall drives in those moments. You're well disciplined.
If you
And that's
don't
all.
bury the Falcons, you should. Please, if that's what that was a reference
No, no, no.
to,
It was
please
it.
bury the Falcons for
No,
their
no. It
incompetence.
was in reference to. I know someone sat there going, "But the Chiefs get all the calls."
Oh
Um,
yeah. Oh,
um,
sorry, sorry.
oh
and
yeah, it's what I
I'm not
have to
playing that
hear
game.
every single time after a Chiefs win. It's like, oh well, yeah, here's what the refs did, or
Yeah,
the refs called the game, or well, it's like, well, why don't you just win despite that then? Like, I mean,
yeah.
it's
Um,
the
but
people moaning about that are the ones that aren't actually winning. So
yeah.
yeah,
Um, the best moment I think I'm looking here at ESPN's predict. The percentages that they give throughout the game.
yeah,
The best the Chargers had it was 59.7% in favor of the Chargers when it was first and 10 at the KC 40, and you went first and 10, second and 10, third and 10 completion. That was the best they had. But one thing I will say about the Chargers, well, though, it's a very typical. The Chargers are so typical Jim Harbaugh. They have he's immediately walked into that building and made them go, right, this is how I play football. And they've gone, all right, let's do it that way then. It's very, very Jim Harbaugh. But the
mm.
thing is, like, I'd like to see them in a year's time. And I think that could be a
Yeah,
very
I
fun.
think you're right. I think they're still building, and I think the problem was in the first half they weren't doing that. They weren't doing
Yeah.
what Jim Harbaugh football. They were trying to get it to Justin Herbert to throw it downfield,
Yeah.
and that's not what this team is about. This team is about running the football down your throat,
Yeah.
and then play action. And they did that in the second half, and that's when they started to have success. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think with the way I'm a believer now, I know most of us are believers. The Chargers could be very, very good, and the
mm,
Raiders will see. yet to be determined. But
Mm,
that could be a very fun division for the next couple of years. As good as the Chiefs are, you could have a couple of real contenders coming at you over the next few years in that
definitely.
division.
But
Yeah.
just to end it, 9 straight division titles. Go Chiefs.
Congratulations, Tom. Very nice.
Thank you.
We also forgot to mention that with the Eagles win over the Panthers, they are now officially a playoff team as well, which I forgot to mention earlier. So,
Yes.
not a division winner, but they won playoffs. Let's quickly go to my game, where the Minnesota Vikings scored 21 points in the fourth quarter to defeat the Atlanta Falcons 42 to 21. Sam Darnold has the best game of his 7-year career, throwing 5 touchdowns, two of which, if you'd like to see a comedy Benny Hill style reel of secondary play for the Falcons, please just Google, because not once but twice did a secondary fall down, losing the ball, allowing both Justin Jefferson and Addison to score long, huge touchdowns, not touched. This game, the Atlanta Falcons sadly became the most penalized team in any game in the NFL this season, for over, I think, a buck 20 something with 10, many of those coming from one of the strengths of their team, which was supposed to be the offensive line. Um, and Kirk Cousins now has no touchdowns and 8 interceptions through 4 games. And the Falcons are 0-4 in those games and are now a game behind um, Tampa Bay in the NFC South, whereas the Minnesota Vikings are now a game behind the Detroit Lions and still looking very light. And I believe there is a matchup coming. Fletch, tell me about this Vikings team. I'll say that defense is gnarly, but I don't think it's unbeatable because we did move the ball on them. It was a 21-21 game in the third quarter, despite Kirk Cousins throwing a touchdown. I will say the Falcons totally got away with what it should have been an interception when Kirk threw a ball to Drake London behind him instead of leading him in the front, which would have been a great pass. And London being the physical receiver he is, he pulled it in, but I think he got one. It should have been a 3 interception day. But thank you, Drake London, for being awesome. Um,
I mean,
the defense is stingy, man. It's real stingy.
it really is. But I mean, also, like, I'm going to argue and say the Viking got away with an intercept, like, got away with. There was an interception there, not an interception. There was a fumble there that got brought back for an incomplete pass, and
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
agree that that was an incomplete pass.
yeah. Where we
Take
hit, we hit, we hit Darnold. Yeah.
take away the homer, take away any homerism, take away whatever. I
No, no,
watched that
no.
play a million times.
It was
Forward
a close
motion
call.
because of the way his arm was like. Anyway, I don't think it was. I think it was a fumble that. And but you look at moments like that, and this is where I was talking. I spoke about this in the Lions game. Those are momentum moments. Those are moments where you can be wrong all you want, but if you in that moment think that you have egregiously had a thing taken off you, then momentum shifts, your mindset shifts, you get frustrated, and how do you keep that? And it felt like from that moment was when it was an okay game until then, and then it just started to.
I think the moment was the Falcons, again, 21-21 game in the third quarter, and then we muff a punt, which they score on. And then the next thing you know, it's just this game just turned over and the defense just gave up. Even with some of those egregious secondary play, we had another 4 sacks yesterday, 5 sacks, I believe, after just like only having nine
Yeah,
sacks through 10 weeks. It was crazy. And
two
now
and
our
two plays.
secondary can't catch a cold, except for AJ Terrell, who was matched up against Jefferson in most of the day, except for on those big plays where AJ Terrell, and I want to shout him out because he actually played a really good game. I think he only got thrown to 1 time yesterday. And like, anyway, but yeah, it's look, we don't have to talk about it too much, but I've been a Falcons fan my whole life. I love this team. I'm a season ticket holder and I live in London. That's how much I love this team. This is the saddest I've ever been, only because I think we've made massive mistakes that are going to take us a long time to dig out of. Could have hired John Harbaugh. Could have hired Belichick. We could, and I like Raheem Morris, but man, his coaching yesterday. And then he hired two rookie offense coordinators to come in, and it just seems like he's having to do so much to help them, which is keeping his eye off being a head coach. He played scared yesterday. He goes for it on 4th and 5 in like the middle of the game, but then we get down to the, it's 2 yards, 4th and goal, 2 yards to go, and then we kick a field goal against the Vikings. Come on.
I mean, I will say this because I don't want to pile on the negativity.
No, you should pile
Um,
on. It's fine.
no, but I mean, just in general, I don't want to pile on the negativity. I
Oh,
like to be
okay.
the person
As a
who brings
person.
it, but if not, I like to be the person who balances out. Normally, everyone else is up here, so I'm like, nope, come down a bit. But to get on that Vikings team, they are so good. That defense is nothing to be messed with. That
Yeah.
is a very good defense. And take away from what I think, I can't remember how many points we put up on them a few weeks ago, but that it was a lot more than they would normally get put up on, and that isn't that was an outlier, not the rule. The But it does the same thing is that this offense is good. This is a damn good offense that they've put together, and to say a lot of it with the defense. Is Sam Darnold the best quarterback in the NFL? No. But yesterday was it? It's Jordan Addison had a few more yards overall than Jefferson, and Jefferson had over 130. It's that whole they've got the talent.
They're explosive.
They're
It's
No,
explosive.
they're
so well
explosive, man.
balanced.
And look, here's the thing. You can put look, Jefferson's going to get his. And in fact, there's a guy I listened to on the Falcons that this week was like, Jefferson's going to get his. That's fine. But what you got to do is not let Addison beat you. And what do we
Mm,
do? We let Addison
mm,
beat us.
mm.
And that's exactly what happened. Not to mention you got Dagum Aaron Jones back there too, who also can run the rock. I mean, it's a really good offense. And Sam Darnold, as long as he doesn't make mistakes, man, he's really good. And like he's like Baker Mayfield North. That's what
Yeah,
he is to me.
he's earning
Yeah,
he's gonna earn a load of money in free agency as Sam
yeah.
Darnold. But yeah,
Well,
yeah, I mean we can move on if you want to. I was just gonna say that, obviously, as you said, AJ Terrell definitely deserves a shout out because he could get lost in the game, 42-21 game or whatever, but he actually played really well in this game. But Jesse Bates, on the other hand, I don't know what he was doing out there,
It's
to be
Simmons.
honest.
Well, Simmons, I think Jesse Bates was trying to like, I mean, Simmons got burnt. I,
Mm,
I would honestly, I have never in my life. Well, there's also two things we got to talk about. First of all, I've never in my life, in all the years of watching football, and I'm sorry I sound like the old uncle here, but there was a defensive holding call on a punt
mm.
but that the Falcons got called on, and then the daggum Vikings got. I mean, everything went wrong with this team. The other thing is, I've never seen two players on long touchdowns like that lose their daggum place and fall down. Like they literally fell
I
down
know.
in the backfield. Like
You
Simmons
honestly
falls
walk,
down.
yeah, just that Jefferson touchdown where he just walked in the end, especially because he hadn't scored a touchdown in 2 months. Like he'd been
Jeez.
held out of the end zone. So yeah, but one
um,
thing I would say that I liked about this game was the celebration that Cam
Oh, the
Bynum
white
and
girls.
Josh Metellus did after that interception. So that was impressive. I like that.
um, just one thing on Sam Darnold as well, though. He was 22 of 28 for 347 yards and 5 touchdowns. A passer rating of 157.9. A perfect passer rating is 158.3. He was point 0.4 off a perfect passer rating on the day. I don't know what took 0.4 off him. Maybe it was that fumble slash not a
Mm,
fumble.
mm.
I don't know, but Sam Darnold had as close to a perfect game as he could get.
Yeah.
Lost in this too is that Mooney, who's probably our best pickup over the year, free agent pickup, besides Ray McLeod, who also fumbled yesterday. Darnell Mooney had 142 yards. So if you started him yesterday, you were very happy. And also I got to shout out one other thing is Bijan Robinson. That dude is a hell of a run blocker. And I don't know if you saw, but man, he helped keep Cousins clean multiple times yesterday. He is turning into an awesome, like a really awesome running back. The only thing he hasn't done is just break those big ones yet. And that's like it, man. He's really good. But I just need to tell everybody officially, I'm out. Falcons are not on the big screen anymore. Rest of the season, I will pay attention, but not watching them. I've lost my faith. I'm really sad. It sucks. I'm out.
I
I'm
got them
still.
doubts
I
and
if I
stuff.
had one of those hats like Rob Lowe has, it just had an NFL symbol on it, I'd be wearing that today. But I don't.
H&M, I believe, have a pair of like pajamas and all sorts you can get. Primark, just to let you know.
I mean, I'm not going to spend money on it, but I'm just saying that's who I am now. I'm just team NFL now. All right, let's move on. Nothing really more here. The Raiders got spanked by the Buccaneers, who are now the leading team in the NFC South, 28 to 13. Brock Bowers, though, it is worth mentioning, now has the most broke Sam Laporta's record after 1 year for most receptions by a tight end in his rookie season, and he has a chance possibly to be the league leader in receptions this year, which is exciting. The Bucks have a really easy schedule the rest of the way. All they have to do is win out, and they are the NFC South champions.
Aiden
Uh,
O'Connell in that game as well. I think he tore something, so
he
he's out.
did,
Yeah.
which means the Atlanta Falcons will be playing Desmond Ritter in Vegas next week because the football gods love us. How exciting!
Cousins against the Vikings and then Ridder against the Falcons. It's just a fun couple of weeks.
And the last game was the Chicago Bears lose in San Francisco to the 49ers 38-13. I mean, the 49ers aren't out of it, but they're again, season from hell for them. Uh, Williams has a kind of forgettable day. And
Yeah. The only thing that saved them was, I think, two late touchdowns, really.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, Brock Purdy had a good game. George Kittle, Isaac Garindo, I believe. And any sort of running back, it seems to go into that Shanahan offense, seems to
yeah.
have a day where they go off, but then he gets injured. So I don't know who that fourth stringer is. But yeah, just a bounce back game for the 49ers, but I don't really think it means that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is the week 14. Obviously, there's the one last game here on Monday night, which is it's the Bengals
Bengals Cowboys.
versus
The
Dallas Cowboys.
Cowboys.
Yeah. That's a weird game.
They
Yeah,
couldn't flex it out because I think there was a lot of talk about whether it could be flexed out because, who wants to watch that in prime
that
time? But because of
Disney
the
Plus,
Simpsons,
the Disney. Yeah.
Uh
they'd already done like the illustrations or something for that.
yeah, they
The
have to
promos
create
and
the character stuff for them. Yeah.
Exactly, they couldn't flex it out because of that.
Wow,
So
that's interesting. Animation coming
yes.
in. All right, there we go.
who would have thought that the
So
Simpsons would have ruined Monday Night Football? Thanks. Thanks, Matt Groening. Thank you. I'm joking. I'm joking. By but that should be fun though. Did any of you watch the Toy Story version last year?
I did. It was a Falcons game.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know if you. Well, I would have imagined you were at the game to be fair instead because it was in London.
Yeah, but I watched it after the fact. It was fun.
Yeah, it was. I watched that one live for the first half of the first quarter and turned it off. My brain could not comprehend quite what was going on, but it was fun to watch for a bit, and I might give it a go on Disney Plus tonight and just see. I'll have the actual game on the main TV, but on my laptop, I think I'll put the Disney Plus version on and just see how it goes because it should be fun. That
Calm before the storm, because the storm's coming, guys.
Yes.
Kings of the North, Chief Kingdom, all the armies are amassing. It's going to be exciting. The Falcons are just going to go home and be sad and scared.
we
Uh,
is there a final question this week?
you know what? There's not because I'm just sad, and sad people don't ask final questions. But I tried to think of one today, and I couldn't think of anything that was
Well,
clever. Everything I thought of was cliche.
well, can
And
I
since
ask one?
Ollie's not here, I don't have like my wild card Ollie thing to happen. So, do you have
Right,
one, Fletch? Do you have a final
I'll
question?
ask one. So you know the other week when you asked what like comfort meal when you're sad,
Yeah.
when you're eating that comfort meal, a bit like that tub of Ben, like when in a chick flick as they call when they're eating the ice cream after the boyfriend's broke up with them, and what's the sad song that you're listening to? What we can either choose what's the sad song that you listen to while you're really sad after the Falcons, or what's the song that you play later on to cheer yourself up?
I listen to podcasts of other angry Falcons fans. Shit on YouTube. Uh, Specifically, shout out to my man Kevin Knight at Falcoholic, who is like he's like an oracle of anger. Um, there's a song. So they I don't know if you guys know they did the back to they made, there's a Back to the Future musical. It's a Broadway that they did. It opened here on the West End here in London, and it's actually now going to Broadway. I got to go see it a couple years ago. Funny enough, when my friend came to the Falcons game, and I did not have high expectations, but I really enjoyed it. So if you can go see the Back to the Future musical, there's a song in which Marty McFly sings in the Back to the Future musical, which I quote a lot, and I'm going to sing it now for you, please. And the verse of it goes. Ain't got no future. And so, just like the Falcons, I don't got no future, which is the refrain of this Falcons season because it has no future. Fletch, was that the answer you wanted?
I mean, I was just after a song title, to be fair. Um, but we got there in the end, yeah. You did
I,
what I normally do.
I think that was
You gave a
I think
Fletch
that
answer
was
to that one.
I think
I'm
that was
quite impressed.
brilliant, to be honest. I'm trying to think of like a sad song, but I mean the Chiefs keep winning, so I don't have a lot of sad songs. But if it was to be though, it would be the one that goes like all by myself. Don't wanna be that one. Yeah. So
All by
But
myself.
what's the pickup song? What's the
That's a
pickup
share
song the
song.
next day?
ooh, what is a pickup song? I
Trust
probably
me,
listen to
whenever
Chiefs Kingdom, to be honest. There's a song called Chiefs Kingdom, and anytime I listen to that, either that or there's one by Tech Nine as well. Yeah, Red
I
Kingdom.
like Little John when we're winning because
okay,
Nice.
nothing feels like Atlanta when Little John's. I mean, not Outcast number one, but
yeah.
Little John. He's got them club hits. Come on.
Oh,
Yeah, he
speaking of
does.
Outcast and the Falcons, that collaboration that they did a few weeks ago was really nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, if I'm, it depends on the loss for me. If I'm really upset, if I'm angry, it was like after the Dallas Cowboys game, anything early Eminem. Like when
Nice.
Eminem was in, he's like, "I'm young and I'm angry" phase
Yes,
at
love
the
that.
world. Listen to it. Um, dare I say, Kim may have came on a few times. Um,
Whoa.
That is a very explicit song, Fletch.
that that was during the Matt Patricia era, and I'd always look at a picture of him while I rapped along verbatim in a very scary way to it. Um,
I hope Mrs. Fletch was not in the room.
it, Again, the way I looked at Matt Patricia, she knew she had no worries in those situations. Or like I think that's generally tends to be because I don't get sad, I just get frustrated, and I guess having a bit of a in order to kind of pick up though, if it's a pickup I'm after, I'm gonna go with either "Forget You" by CeeLo Green,
Mm.
but the explicit version,
Yeah.
or uh, "A Beautiful Day" by Michael Bublé, because both of them are breakup songs, but both of them are so cheerful and have like you can skip around the house and listen to them and be, but you can kind of push the negativity back and move forward. And they're my pickup songs. So, bet no one had me pegged for a Michael Bublé listener,
I
but
did not. I
I did
did not.
not. I listened
no,
to some Buble this weekend. We had the Crooner Christmas while we were decorating the tree and doing the bits.
I was going to say it's December. It is a legal
It is his.
compulsory
It's
thing
his.
to listen to Bublé.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
We're gonna have to debate British Christmas music versus American Christmas music at some point on here
Ooh,
because I
yeah.
have some thoughts.
I like that.
Um, but you did not think, ladies and gentlemen, you'd hear Tom and I both sing on the
no,
pod tonight. So I have Fletch to say thank you. And just so everyone knows, I just need this 24 hours. I'll be back to the normal, happy, awesome Chapman. I will let it all go. I have for many years because I'm a Falcons fan.
Um,
But
well,
thankfully, we have two winners here and two representatives of both the leading teams of the NFC and the AFC with Tom and Fletch. Guys, thank you so much for this evening.
insert insert the Paul Rudd. Hey, look at us.
Look at
Yeah,
us.
look
Look
at
at us.
us.
Look at
Who'd have
us.
thought?
Couple
Who'd have
of
thought? Not
couple of
me.
yeah.
And I'm just the sad Charlie Brown in the back. Anyway, thank you so much, guys. As always, please listen, subscribe, watch, hit like, send to your friends. Also, make sure you're checking out our fellow colleagues and our great friends over on the week 15. Oh, week 15 preview show with Carl, Sam, Fletch, special guests. Who knows? There's also the college pod. I'm sure they'll be breaking down the playoffs, the 12 team playoffs coming up. That was
Yes.
just announced that we watched last night. Georgia's the number 2 seed, if you're wondering. And
Um,
I know Fletch just announced he's got it's the British Big Blue. Is that
the
what it is?
Big House Brits. That's coming,
Big
but
House
that'll
Brits.
be by the spring game. So that's not for now. But
Don't need
next,
to listen to it right now,
not
but there's
Wednesday, not this Wednesday, the week after, we have a really special guest on the podcast on the college one, which very, very excited about. It's been announced in the Discord, and we're not putting it on the socials until a couple of days before the episode's out. So if you want to know who it is, get in the Discord now.
Perfect. And if you want to
please
help
join us on the Discord.
mine and Chapman's fledging music career, then to give a comment on the video. So
Sound engineer, hang on, sound engineer. I will make this. I will make this happen in whatever way I can for whatever favors I am owed in this industry. I will put all of them, all of them.
Anyway, please make sure to listen and subscribe to all the AAW content. We will definitely try to get some interesting people to join us here on the review side because I know this preview team. We got to beat them. We have to. Anyway, yes, it's a competition. Anyway, thank you so much again for joining. Remember, hurdle that future.